This is my response to paper number one. Okay, so paper number one. Overall, this is a good paper, but let's get into the details of the paper and let me give you some comments. So the students starts the paper by saying, I became a communication major because I want to apply my talents to an area that I enjoy and that I can succeed in. I was a little bit confused by this statement because the student mentions that the reason why he became or he or she became a communication major is because of talents, the student's talents, but nowhere in the paper the student mentions that his or her talents are communication related, but instead at the end of the first paragraph, he or she says, I thoroughly enjoy the classes, communication related classes, and all aspects of the field. So to me, it seems like the reason why the student became a communication major is not so much about the talents yet, but rather about the fact that the student enjoys his communication courses. Okay, so perhaps the paper will be better if the student can clarify how the fact that the students enjoys communication classes is related to the fact that the talents, okay, the talents are about communication and how the student can apply both, okay, to his or her career, okay, because the student says he or she eventually wants to work in the field of mass media production, okay. And in the second paragraph, I think the focus of the second paragraph is how beneficial it is to get training in our department, because the faculty in the department are well renowned, okay, in the field, right? As the student says, the faculty in the department is well tenured and has tons of hands-on experience in the field, okay? And he or she continues by saying, I hope this experience will help me to pursue the mass media track and eventually a career in the field, okay? So perhaps it may not be necessarily necessary for the student to mention or to explain the fact that the communication major at UMass has two main tracks. Okay, he or she says the major has two main tracks, one in mass media and the other for interpersonal communication. Perhaps it may not be necessary at all for the students to mention the fact that the department major track has interpersonal communication, because the student's main focus is not the training in interpersonal communication, but in the field of mass media production. Okay, so perhaps it'd be better if the student can say more about the expertise that some faculty have in the field of mass media production. That is more about the student's interest. Okay, so perhaps the student can expand more on that rather than talking about interpersonal communication. Okay, and in the third paragraph, the student starts by saying, my career goals are mainly to work in the field of mass media production, but this has been already mentioned in the very first paragraph, okay? So this seems a little bit redundant, Okay, and we don't really get any new information until the 1, 2, 3, 4. In the fourth paragraph, where the student begins to say something about his or her interest in sports. He or she says, I also have a great interest in sports, and so would be extremely happy with a job in sports and closely related to communication field and mass media. Okay. So I wish that the student can actually expand this part, the second part, or the new information in the paper, which is about his or her interest in sports. So say something more about that, and then more about how communication is related to sports. Okay, more in terms of the students interested in the interaction, or the what's the word, intertwined aspect of communication in sports. Okay, and then how getting training in communication in our department will help the student benefit in terms of pursuing a career in sports related communication. Okay. Yep, so that's all for my comments for now. Yep. Well, actually, let me add one more comment. Okay. So the title for the paper is a little bit too generic. It just says personal reflection essay, and I think it'd be better if the student can kind of like customize the title, because since the student is mentioning in the paper about his or her interested in the field of mass media production and in the field of sport. So the title could be something like pursuing my goal in mass media production and sports communication. To me, that such title would be better than a generic title like personal reflection essay. Yep. Okay, so that's all for comments, and thank you for the chance to read your paper.